From El Dorado County,
I do not feel he's safe for our community.
To Placer County.
Having somebody like this released in our community is egregious.
Many community members say they do not want people convicted of sexually violent crimes in their communities.
We want to be reasonable, but we need you to be reasonable in this process as well.
There's got to be another way. There's got to be another place.
Through the state of California's Sexually Violent Predator Conditional Release Program, people convicted of sexually violent crimes, also known as SVPs, are eligible to be treated and rehabilitated. Once they complete their prison sentence, the goal is to safely re-enter them into our communities.
The crimes they've committed are heinous. Rape with murder, rape with an object, multiple young victims.
State Senator Brian Jones believes this should not be happening in any community, and he's introduced Senate Bill 832 to double down on the state's responsibility to monitor SVPs once they're re-released.
The director of state hospitals has to sign off on these, that public safety be the #1 concern. And the bottom line is we just want to put the responsibility of keeping an eye on these guys back on the state where it belongs.
The California Department of State Hospitals is in charge of the SVP program. They've contracted Liberty Healthcare to lead the treatment and rehabilitation.
Right now, the state is paying Liberty Healthcare more than $22 million over the course of its current 2-year contract. And the cost of a conditionally released SVP in the program varies every year.
Through an ABC 10 public records request, these numbers highlight the cost breakdown. In 2021, the cost of one SVP was $386,582. In 2022, $403,826, and the cost only went up in 2023. $456,032 per SVP. As of December 2023, the state says there were 572 SVP patients, with another 380 patients with probable cause to be labeled as an SVP, although the state adds these numbers can change on a daily basis. Jones says it's unclear how the program works and how the SVPs are being treated.
Who is Liberty Health? How much are we paying them? Why are they involved? And why is this sweet contract not bid out every so often? Why have they had it for 20 years with no other competition?
In the current 46-page contract with the state, the expectations for Liberty are laid out. They include surveillance, home visits, substance abuse screening, and GPS tracking. But Jones says it's still not clear how Liberty performs these duties, and he requested an audit in May of last year with the help of Assemblymember Joe Patterson.
Auditing what Liberty Healthcare is doing is great, and it's perfectly within the purview of the legislatures.
In line with Senator Jones's bill, Patterson introduced Assembly Bill 2036, focusing on housing for convicted sexually violent predators.
What this bill essentially does is it defines what qualified housing is, and qualified housing would be essentially not a hotel. That's the easiest way to put it.
This comes as Patterson's constituents fight against the release of William Stevenson, a convicted sexually violent predator in Placer County. In July 2023, a judge granted him to be conditionally released as a transient. Placer County, the state, and Liberty have been looking for a place to house him ever since.
Mr. Stevenson has a long history of sex crimes, culminating in his convictions in 1991 for a number of assaults on women in the South Lake Tahoe area. He was ultimately sentenced to prison for 30 years in 1991. He served half that time.
Placer County District Attorney Morgan Geyer says Stevenson was released in Roseville in 2014 when a judge deemed him fit to be released after spending 7 years with state hospitals getting treatment. During a routine checkup while he was conditionally released, Liberty Healthcare officials discovered he violated his terms of release by possessing child pornography. He was arrested in 2017, but instead of trying to convict him of that crime, Geyer says the DA's office decided that removing him from the community and putting him back into the SVP program as soon as possible was the best option.
Rather than risking having to go to a jury and leaving it up to 12 community members, we were already guaranteed that he was going to be returned to custody.
Stevenson sent a letter to ABC 10 claiming he is innocent because he served his time and was never convicted of the child pornography charges. A judge deemed him fit for re-release in 2022. Geyer says he understands Stevenson's arguments, but believes believes he still poses a danger to the public.
The best predictor of future behavior oftentimes is past behavior, and he's already violated once. They have a right to be free, provided they can follow through with the right circumstances and be safe. So this is a very complicated issue that gets everybody all riled up on both sides.
In a 2022 report from the California Sex Offender Management Board, which is made up of prosecutors and correctional officials from across the state, found that people are less likely to reoffend if they have community support upon re-entry. But Geyer does not agree.
That assertion is somewhat nonsensical. To ask the community to embrace someone who has been convicted of violent sex crimes and has violated, I think, is unreasonable.
The Department of State Hospitals tells ABC 10 55 people have been released into the community since the SVP program started in 1996. As for the rate of success of those 55 people, they say less than 11 have either been convicted or suspected of a crime and never convicted while participating in their program. We asked for clarification on what less than 11 means and asked the state to provide an exact number on how many people reoffended. The state says, quote, DSH cannot provide numbers that are less than 11. As Geyer continues to wait for state hospitals to make a decision on William Stevenson, he hopes this program becomes more streamlined in the future and believes the bipartisan legislation being introduced may be the answer.
The law requires now a collaborative process between the local authorities and the Department of State Hospitals, and it hasn't been that. I'm hopeful that our legislators and the audit process will bring some of that much needed transparency.